also we have laws enabling Ugandans to transact electronically. And one of such laws is the Electronic Transactions Act, which allows you to provide e-prescriptions, digital contracts, have electronic health records. So therefore, you can be able to even offer pharmaceutical services remotely without anyone having to move, and also have digital inventory systems. So when you look at that law, you're able to appreciate the different things that it governs. But the most important of them is recognizing the legality of electronic transactions in this country. Another one is the Computer Misuse Act. I don't know if you've heard about this, but we need to know that as you digitize your processes, your services, there are chances that if someone ends up breaching or getting unauthorized access to the patient's records, you're going to be held liable under the Computer Misuse Act. A pharmacist, for example, should not go and take a photo of a patient's prescription and post it during the election period, as we see now. I'm not a pharmacist, so I don't know what medicines do. But another pharmacist would understand that this medicine is for this particular kind of disease. And we all know that some diseases come with discrimination and stigma, so it may not be a good thing to put that out. And that's why the law comes up and says, if you misuse the computer, you're going to be held liable under that law. Another law that's very important to all of us is the Privacy Act, which is the Data Protection and Privacy Act. You know, when we talk about the fact that someone comes to you, tells you their problem as a doctor, you prescribe and they come to you as a pharmacist, you give them, you dispense the drugs and actually advise them on how to take these drugs, tell them about the side effects, etc. You're not expected to share this information with anyone. That is why as a pharmacy, you're supposed to obtain that person's consent to use their information to give them medicine. And if that health information ends up being breached and comes out in the public domain, you may be liable. Another thing that's very important, which all of us, especially those that own pharmaceutical practices, have to do, you are supposed to register with the Data Protection Office, so that you're also trained on data handling practices, because every organization that handles data must have a data protection officer. The other issue is the Access to Information Act. So you know, most of the facilities in this country believe that you come to me, you pay a consultation fee, I listen to your ailment, I find out what, I diagnose you with whatever illness, I prescribe medicine and everything, but I own this information. You do not own that information. If I come up tomorrow and I want to change and see another practitioner, I should access that information. I remember a while back, I went to one of these leading private hospitals in this country, and I told them, I want to try and look at another hospital. And they told me, yeah, you're free to go. I told them, no, I will need to get the information from you so the doctor knows where to start from. And they told me, you do not have a right, because that is our information. And the lawyer in me came out and I said, you know, I've been coming here for so many years as a patient, but actually I have a profession beyond being a patient. I am going to sue the hell out of you. And when that happened, of course, they gave me a copy of the file. But how many people will be able to know that? So that is why the Access to Information Act comes in handy. We have the Uganda Communications Act. We know that all of us, a good number of us are now using telemedicine services, telepharmacy services. So mobile health applications have been talked about today. All these are governed under the Uganda Communications Act. So basically, this law ensures that there's reliable digital communication infrastructure for pharmacy operations. And lastly, I'm looking at the NITA Uganda guidelines and IT standards. These ones basically give you the standards that must follow. So there's interoperability, there's protection from cyber invasions and things of that kind. And also, when you look at these guidelines, it will provide pharmacies with what they have to do to ensure that their activities align with the national health databases and ICT protocols. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned, in 2024, the Ministry of Health passed guidelines. Because of time, we're unable to appreciate what the difference is. But this morning, you've been talking about the Act, amendment of the Act, enactment of the Act. So an Act is what the Parliament passes. And then the President assents to it, and then it becomes law. But those acts usually permit the enactment of regulations or guidelines. So because Uganda is in its infant stages on the digital health journey, we thought that it's wise not to create standard laws. I think one of the professors mentioned this morning that the intricacies involved in passing an act of parliament, it's very complicated. It takes ages, it takes a lot of lobbying, takes a lot of effort and everything. So the Minister of Health decided to make guidelines, and those are the National Digital Health Guidelines. Ideally, they should have, I think, about 10, but they haven't made all of them, so they are work in progress. But as I speak, the ones that appear on the screen have been passed, and they're already law in Uganda. They are guidelines that are implemented in Uganda. So these different guidelines affect pharmaceutical business in different ways. When you look at the first column, you're able to see the name of the guideline, the middle one, the description, and lastly, how that guideline is relevant to pharmacists. So if you look at the Digital Health Enterprise, the Architecture, Standards, and Knowledge Guidelines, this one offers a framework that must be followed when you're creating digital health systems as a user, as a system, and at network levels. So that means that as a pharmacist or as a society, you have to ensure that when people have systems in place, they must maintain secure access so that dispensing records and digital inventory systems are not available to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. That way you're protecting people's privacy and protecting their data. And you're also protecting your system from being hacked. The second guideline is the Uganda Health Information Exchange and Interoperability Guidelines. So basically, you know that these days we have, we call them fragmented systems. Every hospital, be it private, government, they have systems. But some of these systems don't talk to each other. They're not interoperable. If they don't communicate to each other and they're not interoperable, it means they are fragmented. So what these guidelines come up to say, they say data has to be exchanged and the terminology has to be harmonized. So what does that mean? That means that yes,